ExamPrep.School. Indiana Property and Casualty Insurance Exam. There are 4 practice exams in this series. This video covers Practice Exam 1. The first 20 questions are free. In this video, we will be covering the following major categories for Practice Exam 1. Commercial lines regulations. Indiana laws and department rules common to all lines. Insurance terms and related concepts. Insurance terms and related concepts. Personal lines regulations. Policy provisions. Policy provisions and contract law. Surplus lines common to personal and commercial. Types of policies. Types of policies, bonds, and related terms. Let's walk through the format. I'll read each question and its choices. Let's get started. Question 1. Which homeowner's policy form provides open peril coverage for the dwelling, but limits coverage for personal property to named perils? A. HO3 special form. B. HO2 broad form. C. HO5 comprehensive form. D. HO8 modified coverage form. A countdown circle appears in the top right. Once it completes, the answer is revealed. You can pause at any time if you'd like longer to think. If you'd like additional practice covering more topics, see the description for our book. The correct answer is A. The special form grants open peril protection for the dwelling and other structures, but retains named peril coverage for personal property. The broad form covers both dwelling and personal property on a named peril basis. The comprehensive form covers both dwelling and personal property on an open peril basis. The modified coverage form uses actual cash value with restricted peril coverage. Reason B is not correct. The broad form provides named peril coverage for both dwelling and personal property, not open peril for the dwelling. Reason C is not correct. The comprehensive form offers open peril coverage for both dwelling and personal property, rather than limiting personal property to named perils. Reason D is not correct. The modified coverage form employs actual cash value settlement and a restricted peril list, not the hybrid openness named perimeter described. Question 2. Which peril is excluded under all standard homeowners policy forms and requires a separate policy endorsement or standalone policy for coverage? A. Earthquake. B. Windstorm. C. Lightning. D. Vandalism. The correct answer is A. Earth movement perils, including earthquake, are universally excluded from standard homeowners forms and must be added via endorsement or a dedicated earthquake policy. Windstorm, lightning, and vandalism are covered under the typical named or open peril provisions of standard forms. Reason B is not correct. Windstorm is covered either as a named peril or under open peril dwelling coverage in standard homeowners forms. Reason C is not correct. Lightning is a listed named peril in broad and limited forms or covered under open peril forms, not universally excluded. Reason D is not correct. Vandalism is covered under almost all homeowners forms, subject to policy conditions, rather than being universally excluded. Question 3. What is the primary effect of adding a scheduled personal property endorsement to a homeowner's policy? A. It provides agreed value coverage and waives the deductible for listed items. B. It extends open peril coverage to all personal property without itemization. C. It increases the general personal property limit by a flat percentage. D. It broadens the peril list for contents under the basic form. The correct answer is A. A scheduled personal property endorsement itemizes specific high-value items with agreed values and typically removes or reduces the deductible for those items. It does not alter general contents limits or peril lists for unscheduled property. Reason B is not correct. Open peril coverage without itemization is characteristic of the comprehensive form for all contents, not a scheduling endorsement. Reason C is not correct. The endorsement applies only to listed items rather than increasing the general contents limit universally. Reason D is not correct. Endorsements do not change basic form peril lists for all contents. They schedule specific items. Question 4. Which homeowner's policy form typically settles dwelling losses on an actual cash value basis rather than replacement cost? A. HO3 special form. B. HO5 comprehensive form. C. HO2 broad form. D. HO8 modified coverage form. The correct answer is D. The modified coverage form uses actual cash value, applying depreciation to the dwelling before payment. The special, comprehensive, and broad forms settle dwelling losses on a replacement cost basis, subject to any applicable valuation provisions. Reason A is not correct. The special form settles dwelling losses at replacement cost, not actual cash value after depreciation. Reason B is not correct. The comprehensive form also pays replacement cost for dwelling losses. Reason C is not correct. The broad form pays replacement cost for the dwelling, subject to valuation requirements. Question 5. Under a standard homeowner's policy, coverage B for other structures is automatically provided at what percentage of the coverage A limit? A. 5%, B. 25%, C. 10%, D. 50%. The correct answer is C. Standard homeowners policies automatically allocate 10% of the dwelling coverage, A limit, to other structures under coverage B. The other percentages do not reflect the built-in automatic limit. Reason A is not correct. A 5% allocation is below the standard built-in limit for other structures. Reason B is not correct. Coverage B is not set at 25% of the dwelling limit under standard forms. Reason D is not correct. A 50% allocation greatly exceeds the automatic percentage provided for other structures. Question 6. A homeowner with an HO3 policy experiences a burglary in which a set of heirloom silverware valued at $5,000 is stolen. Given the policy's special limits for silverware, what is the maximum amount the insurer will pay for this loss? A. $5,000. B. $1,500. C. $2,500. D. Actual cash value at time of loss. The correct answer is B. The HO3 policy imposes a $1,500 sublimit on silverware, so the insurer will reimburse up to that amount regardless of actual value. Reason A is not correct. Coverage does not extend to full replacement value when a specific sublimit applies. Reason C is not correct. The $2,500 limit applies to firearms, not silverware. Reason D is not correct. Actual cash value does not override a stated special limit. Question 7. A guest slips and falls on an icy driveway at a homeowner's residence and incurs $1,200 in medical bills. Shortly afterward, the guest files a lawsuit seeking $15,000 in bodily injury damages. Under an HO3 policy, how do the medical payments and liability coverages apply in this scenario? A. Medical payments will reimburse $1,200 regardless of negligence, and liability coverage will cover damages if insured is legally liable up to the liability limit. B. Both coverages share a combined aggregate limit. C. Liability will pay the full lawsuit amount first, then medical payments reimburse any remaining expenses. D. Medical payments coverage applies only if no lawsuit is filed. The correct answer is A. Medical payments is a no-fault coverage that pays minor medical expenses up to its limit. Liability coverage applies separately if negligence is established within policy limits. Reason B is not correct. Medical payments and liability have separate limits and are not combined. Reason C is not correct. Liability coverage does not pay before medical payments in a no-fault scenario. Reason D is not correct. Medical payments applies even if a lawsuit is subsequently filed. Question 8. A homeowner leaves an HO3 insured dwelling vacant for 75 consecutive days. Vandalism causes extensive damage to the interior. Which of the following best describes how the policy responds? A. Damage is covered since vandalism is a covered peril under the policy. B. Damage is excluded because the vacancy exceeded the policy's threshold for vacant property. C. Damage is covered only if caused by fire or explosion. D. Damage is covered after a 20% vacancy surcharge is paid. The correct answer is B. HO3 policies exclude vandalism losses if the dwelling has been vacant beyond 60 consecutive days, regardless of cause. Reason A is not correct. Vandalism coverage is voided once vacancy exceeds the policy's time threshold. Reason C is not correct. Although fire or explosion remains covered, vandalism does not after vacancy limits are breached. Reason D is not correct. No surcharge reinstates coverage. The peril is simply excluded after the vacancy period. Question 9. In a building and personal property coverage form, which valuation option pays the cost of replacing damaged property without deduction for depreciation, subject to policy limits? A. Extended replacement cost. B. Replacement cost value. C. Stated amount. D. Actual cash value. The correct answer is B. Replacement cost value pays for repair or replacement without depreciation deductions up to the policy limit, ensuring full replacement of damaged property. Reason A is not correct. Extended replacement cost provides extra percentage above the limit, not just replacement without depreciation. Reason C is not correct. Stated amount bases settlement on a predetermined value rather than actual replacement cost. Reason D is not correct. Actual cash value deducts depreciation from the replacement cost. Question 10. Under the building and personal property coverage form, which coverage extension applies to property moved to a safe location to protect it from further damage after a covered loss? A. Fire department service charge. B. Preservation of property. C. Pollutant cleanup and removal. D. Debris removal. The correct answer is B. Preservation of property covers reasonable cost to move and protect property from further damage at another location for up to 30 days. Reason A is not correct. Fire department service charge reimburses fees for fire suppression, not property relocation. Reason C is not correct. Pollutant cleanup covers removal of pollutants, not relocation of property. Reason D is not correct. Debris removal covers cleanup of wreckage, not transporting property to safety. Question 11. Which provision in the building and personal property coverage form is classified as an additional condition rather than an additional coverage? A. Debris removal. B. Preservation of property. C. Abandonment. D. Fire department service charge. The correct answer is C. The abandonment provision is an additional condition that limits insured rights, whereas debris removal, preservation of property, and fire department service charge are additional coverages. Reason A is not correct. Debris removal is provided as an additional coverage, not a condition. Reason B is not correct. Preservation of property is an additional coverage extension. Reason D is not correct. Fire department service charge is an additional coverage, not a condition. Question 12. A building insured for $100,000 has an 80% coinsurance requirement. The actual value at the time of loss is $200,000 and the loss amount is $50,000. How much will the insurer pay, ignoring any deductible? A. $50,000. B. $31,250. C. $37,500. D. $28,125. The correct answer is B. Required insurance is 80% of $200,000, $160,000. Actual carried is $100,000. So the insurer pays $100,000, $160,000, multiplied by $50,000 equals $31,250. Reason A is not correct. Paying the full loss ignores the coinsurance penalty for underinsurance. Reason C is not correct. This calculation assumes a 75% coinsurance requirement rather than 80%. Reason D is not correct. This result comes from applying a compounded depreciation factor, which is incorrect. Question 13. Kane's Sporting Goods holds a building and personal property coverage form with a protective safeguards condition requiring both an automatic sprinkler system and a monitored fire alarm. During a store renovation, the sprinkler remained active, but the fire alarm was disconnected for 5 days. A fire breaks out, causing $200,000 in damage. The insurer was not notified of the alarm disconnection. How will the insurer handle the claim under this condition? A. Deny the claim for the fire loss entirely. B. Pay the full $200,000 loss under the policy. C. Limit payment to loss caused by smoke only. D. Pay the full $200,000 loss minus a penalty deduction. The correct answer is A. The protective safeguards condition requires both the sprinkler and the alarm to be maintained and the insurer to be notified of any suspension. Failure to maintain the alarm suspends coverage for losses from fire, so the fire damage claim is denied. Reason B is not correct. Coverage is not provided because the condition suspension applies to fire losses when the alarm was disconnected without notice. Reason A is not correct. An insurer organized in another U.S. state is considered foreign, not alien. Reason D is not correct. No penalty deduction applies under this condition. Coverage is fully suspended for the fire loss. Question 14. A manufacturing plant insured under a commercial property coverage form includes an ordinance or law endorsement with 3 coverage parts: building loss, undamaged parts demolition, and increased cost of construction. A tornado destroys the entire factory. Demolition of undamaged sections costs $100,000 and bringing the rebuilt structure up to current code costs $250,000. Which endorsement coverage part applies to the $250,000 increased construction cost? A. Building loss coverage. B. Undamaged parts demolition coverage. C. Increased cost of construction coverage. D. Both undamaged parts demolition and increased cost coverage. The correct answer is C. The increased cost of construction coverage specifically applies to the additional expense required to rebuild to current ordinance or law standards, which matches the $250,000 code upgrade cost. Reason A is not correct. Building loss coverage pays for the actual value of the destroyed structure, not code upgrade expenses. Reason B is not correct. Demolition coverage only pays to remove undamaged parts, not for construction costs required by code. Reason D is not correct. Demolition coverage and increased cost coverage are separate parts. Only the increased cost part applies to code upgrades. Question 15. Clearwater Shipping's warehouse insured under a building and personal property coverage form has been unoccupied for 75 days when vandals break in and destroy stored inventory. Under the vacancy condition of the form, how will the insurer respond to this vandalism loss? A. Pay the full replacement cost of inventory. B. Pay ACV of the inventory less depreciation. C. Deny the claim for vandalism damage. D. Cover the loss under an extended perils endorsement. The correct answer is C. The vacancy condition excludes coverage for vandalism if the building has been vacant more than 60 days, so this vandalism loss is specifically excluded. Reason A is not correct. Full replacement cost is not paid because the vacancy condition removes coverage for vandalism after 60 days. Reason B is not correct. There is no ACV payment. The loss is completely excluded under the vacancy condition. Reason D is not correct. An extended perils endorsement cannot override the vacancy condition exclusion. Question 16. Which one of the following would be covered under a contractor's equipment floater inland marine policy? A. Customer's property in the contractor's care, custody, or control. B. Landscaping tools stored in a permanent job site, shed awaiting use. C. An excavator owned by the insured while in transit to a remote construction site. D. A completed building awaiting occupancy at a finished construction site. The correct answer is C. The contractor's equipment floater specifically insures owned mobile equipment wherever it is located between jobs or in transit. It does not cover customers' property, permanently stored tools, or completed buildings. Reason A is not correct. Coverage for customers' property is provided under a Bailey's customer's floater, not the contractor's equipment floater. Reason B is not correct. These tools are permanently stored and not covered by the CEF, which applies to mobile equipment in transit or at temporary sites. Reason D is not correct. Completed buildings awaiting occupancy are exposures of a builder's risk form, not the contractor's equipment floater. Question 17. Which cause of loss is typically excluded under a standard inland marine policy? A. Gradual deterioration. B. Earthquake shock. C. Theft of covered property. D. Collision damage during transit. The correct answer is A. Standard inland marine policies are written on an all-risk basis, but commonly exclude losses due to wear and tear or gradual deterioration. They generally cover theft, natural disasters, and transit collisions. Reason B is not correct. Earthquake shock is generally covered under all-risk inland marine coverage unless an endorsement excludes it. Reason C is not correct. Theft is a covered peril under most all-risk inland marine forms, unless specifically excluded. Reason D is not correct. Collision damage in transit is included under transit perils for inland marine policies. Question 18. Under a standard inland marine coverage form, how is the settlement for a covered loss generally determined? A. Replacement cost without depreciation under all circumstances. B. Functional replacement cost after depreciation. C. Original cost minus salvage value. D. Actual cash value at the time of loss unless an agreed value is specified. The correct answer is D. Inland marine policies default to actual cash value settlement, reflecting replacement cost minus depreciation unless an agreed value or stated amount is shown in the policy declarations. Reason A is not correct. Inland marine typically does not pay full replacement cost without depreciation unless specified by an endorsement. Reason B is not correct. Functional replacement cost is not the standard loss settlement basis for inland marine. ACV is. Reason C is not correct. Settlement is based on ACV, not simply original cost minus salvage, which may not reflect current value. Question 19. A commercial dry cleaning shop carries customers' garments under a Bailey's Customers Inland Marine policy. When a customer's coat is damaged by water in transit to the cleaning facility, which party qualifies as an insured under the policy? A. The owner of the damaged garment. B. The dry cleaning shop owner. C. The independent delivery driver. D. The garment manufacturer. The correct answer is A. This option is correct because a Bailey's customers form extends coverage to the bailer, meaning the owner of the damaged property is insured for physical loss under the policy. Reason B is not correct. The shop owner is the named insured, but coverage extends to customer's property rather than only the business owner. Reason C is not correct. The delivery driver is neither named nor defined as an insured under a Bailey's customers form. Reason D is not correct. The garment manufacturer has no possession or custody interest under the policy and is not insured. Question 20. A construction firm acquires a new excavator after its inland marine contractor's equipment floater was issued. To ensure the new machine is automatically covered under the existing policy without waiting for a scheduled update, which endorsement should be attached? A. Agreed value schedule endorsement. B. Newly acquired property endorsement. C. Seasonal increase endorsement. D. Errors and omissions endorsement. The correct answer is B. This option is correct because the newly acquired property endorsement automatically extends coverage to equipment acquired during the policy period without requiring manual schedule additions. Reason A is not correct. An agreed value schedule endorsement fixes the value of listed items and does not automatically add new acquisitions. Reason C is not correct. A seasonal increase endorsement applies to fluctuating stock levels, not heavy equipment acquisitions. Reason D is not correct. An errors and omissions endorsement pertains to professional liability, not physical equipment coverage. Enjoyed this practice test? Tap like, hit subscribe, and share it with a classmate. Got a question we should tweak? Comment below. We read them all. Find full practice exam books in the description or at ExamPrep.School.